What's going on, everybody? KingofDragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the Bandai SH Figuarts Dragon Ball Super Broly, the Super Form. And so here we have Broly posing out of the packaging. Before we have a look at the figure, let's actually take a look at what he comes with. Broly here does come with 3 alternate head sculpts. He comes with a base form head, which looks pretty decent. He comes with a rat state head, which I think is probably the best. And then he also does come with a Super Saiyan head sculpt, which all of them look really nice. He also does come with his restraint collar, which is just done in silver plastic. And then we do get 6 hands. We have a pair of fists. We have some clenching hands. And then we have more open hands, and they all look really, really fantastic on this figure. Other than that, we don't get anything else with Broly. I would have liked to see some more faces, but still really, really impressed by this figure. So what we're going to do now is have a closer look at his details. And so here we have a closer look at Wrath Form Broly. Now I do call this the Wrath State. I'm pretty sure that's the official term for this, where he's channeling the Uzaro form, and they just did a phenomenal job with this head sculpt. It's my favorite amongst the 3. You can see just how much detail went into it. The eyes look really, really impressive. The scarring on his face is done really well. Really do love the hair sculpt. I think it's probably one of the better hair sculpts that Bandai has made. And you can see it goes all the way around. It's basically a shrunken down version of Full Power Broly, but really still love how this head came out. And like I said, just a really, really nice piece. Now, if there's one criticism I have about this figure, besides the obvious wear spots where the paint can rub, it's his skin is a little bit too pale. Broly had darker skin in the movie, and I don't think this figure conveys that properly, but he is darker than Goku and Vegeta, although I think he should be a couple shades darker. The scarring on his face is done really well. Having a look at his armor, he is wearing the Frieza Force armor from the movie, and I think they did a really good job painting and sculpting this. You can see exactly how nice it is. The green is really vibrant. The white, it's a little gray, but it still looks really nice. I do like it. Going on to the back, you can see just how much detail they put into this. Really love the dark blue shade that they went with. Having a look at his arms. His arms do feel like they're also shrunken down versions of Full Power Broly, but they are their own unique sculpts. The hands, he comes with the exact same hands as Full Power Broly, so those might actually be shrunken down from that figure. Really do like his skirt piece right here, the one that he used, or that it's Ball's ear, which they did a really good job sculpting it. One thing I love about this figure is how the flat plastics really do bring out, it makes this look like a really quality figure. Now the skirt is done really well, and just like with the Full Power Broly, this is a softer piece of plastic, so you don't have to worry about it hindering articulation. It does get out of the way if you need it, and the sides of course are soft, so those will also get out of the way. They did go all the way and paint the inside of the ear, so that's really nice. Really do love the difference in sheen. You can see it's a shinier paint on the inside of the ear, and we do get a matte finish on the outside. Having a look at his legs, he is wearing his purple tights, which that's what he was wearing in the movie, so of course he would have the purple tights. His boots are done really well. You can see they have the, I want to call them tubes, not really tubes, they're accents. The white accents with a darker blue. And then we go on to the foot, which is done in a nice white plastic. The paint on his toes is done pretty well as the sculpt work. Unfortunately, we don't get any treads or any detailing on the bottom of his shoes, so that is a little bit disappointing. Before we move on to comparisons, I do want to bring out some issues with this figure. There is a lot of places that paint can rub off on the figure. Now, I don't know if you guys can see it or if it's going to come up on camera. I already do have some paint rub right here on the shoulder. I think it's a little more predominant on this side. Yeah, you can see some of the white is starting to rub off on there. If we look at the back of his collar, It's not as noticeable, but it is starting to wear back here. So do be aware when you're moving him around that some of the paints might rub up against each other, so just be aware of that. Same thing right here on his torso. You can see it's really starting to wear right here. I have already posed him around for a little bit, and there's no getting away from that. That's plastic rubbing on plastic. The way this should have been done is that this should have been a softer piece sculpted going into the torso, and this could lean over the torso. That would have saved this from rubbing, and it's going to be rubbing on the back as well. And then you might also get some rubbing right here on the base of his armor. So just a few things to worry about. You might experience paint rub, and you can see it right there on that arm. So just be aware of how you have them posed, because you don't want to have this all messed up just due to paint rub. So with all that out of the way, guys, let's actually get them compared to other figures you may have in your collection. And so here we have Rat State Broly posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Broly posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. Here we have Broly posed next to a Hasbro Lightning Collection White Ranger and a Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. Here we have Broly posed next to Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. Here we have Broly posed next to Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta. And finally, here we have Rat State Broly posed next to Full Power Broly. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually have a look at his articulation. Broly's head is on a dumbbell joint, which does afford some up and down movement, although because of how his hair is sculpted, you're not going to get too much upwards movement, and how his face comes down, you really don't get too much downward movement. Again, his hair is going to get in the way for tilting, so we do get some tilt. Of course, it does turn left and right. Just be cautious of how his hair is. You don't want that rubbing against the armor. We do have a ball joint in the neck, which does let him look down about that far, and he would look up further if it wasn't for his hair. His arms are on butterfly joints within ball sockets, or is it a butterfly joint with a ball socket in it? Because his arm does pull out about that far, and it looks pretty good. I do like the way they sculpted that. So we have a butterfly joint there. Then we get a ball joint right here in the shoulder, so we can adjust that up. We can adjust that down, move it forward and back a little bit. So overall, we do get pretty impressive range with Broly, and you can adjust his armor accordingly because this is on a ball hinge. So if you want to have his arm up, you can adjust the armor to be up, and I really love that design. As far as his arm goes, if we get his shoulder piece out of the way, it does do a full 360 and goes out more than horizontal, so really good movement there. We do have a bicep swivel, which only moves forward about that far because it does start rubbing up against itself, but we do have outward movement, and that's a little bit stiff on mine. We do have double bend in the elbow, giving us a little bit better than 90 degrees. He has a really buff arm. Not as buff as his full power form, but it's still pretty buff. And then we do have your standard ball hinge socket for the wrist, so we do have some up and down movement. We can rotate that to have in and out movement. And of course the hand will rotate on that ball joint, so standard Figuarts wrist joint there. He does have a ball joint here in the torso, although you're really only going to get some side to side. Very limited up, forward, and back, only because of how his armor is sculpted in both the front and the back, and you really don't want that rubbing against itself. But it does afford very little rotation, so mainly not much. You're mainly going to be using his lower torso articulation, which does go back about that far. Can come forward about that far, so that's better than nothing. Still a little bit lacking, and I believe it's a ball hinge, and it does work pretty good. His skirt piece is on a hinge, so that does go out if you really wanted to. We do have, I want to say it's a ball hinge at the hip, because it does move down if you really need to, and that will give it better range. As you can see, he can kick all the way up, he can kick all the way back, goes out only to about there. Now, I have noticed that he might be on a double ball joint because you can see I'm getting some movement in. Now this piece right here, it's just a cover. That is not connected into anything. So I don't know why they did it that way. It does make moving the leg a little bit tricky. So do be aware of that. We do have a rotation right here, and like I said, that might be a ball joint right there. I haven't taken it apart, so I really can't say. We do have double bend in the knee, works pretty good. Ankle rotation does work decently. It's not the best, but it still works. Foot hinges back about that far. Hinges forward about that far. Very little rocker ankle, but it is there. And then we do have a toe hinge, excuse me. So overall, really do love Broly's articulation. Even though some of it is hindered, it still works for what you need it to. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get imposed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have the SH Figuarts Broly Rat State, or Super Broly if you want to call him that, posed for my final thoughts. Overall, really impressed by this figure. I love the amount of detail that went into him. I'm actually surprised that Bandai went ahead and gave us this version of Broly. This is something I wasn't really expecting, but when it was announced, I knew I wanted it in my collection because I really did love the movie, and having Broly in hand is such a really nice piece. I do like the way this figure came out. If I have one complaint about this figure, it would be the base form head. If they had given us multiple faces for each head, I'd be perfectly okay with this. But if I had to omit the base form head in order to get faces for the Super Saiyan head or even the Rat State head, I would gladly trade the base form head for more faces. Other than that, this is still a really impressive figure, and if you're a fan of Dragon Ball Super and love the Broly movie like I did, you're going to want to have Broly in your collection. Now, at the time I'm making this video, Broly is still available on Big Bad Toy Store, which is where I picked up mine. He is available on other online retail right now, and specialty stores at the time I'm making this video. He should barely be hitting those shelves, so if you are looking for him, ask around, and if you really want him, you're going to find a way to get this guy in your collection. With that being said, guys, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and check out all my other action figure reviews, as well as all my other Dragon Ball videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it's in my collection, I'll gladly have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and as always, ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.